left Christianity and fundamentalist churches, I started to notice that churches teach its members that consensual activity is wrong unless it's in marriage. I grew up in a fundamentalist culture that did not see certain activity as different and acceptable. I grew up believing that any form of relationship, sex, desire, or commitment was wrong and unnatural and a sin if it did not fit very cookie-cutter heterosexual relationship within marriage. They actually view consensual behavior as wrong, the same way they view pervy behavior as wrong. There is no difference. And yeah, there are conservative churches that see the difference, and they don't teach that anything outside of marriage is wrong. They teach people to respect each other and take accountability for their behavior. But I'm talking about fundamentalist, traditionalist churches. Things like Calvinism and Southern Baptist. They cannot tell the difference between unmarried consensual sex and somebody touching a woman without consent. They lump everything together. And we talked about this in the last video, how they police the way women dress because they only see women as objects to be consumed. This is not acceptable, ever. I don't even look at my food that way. I'm always grateful for things I have. And when you grow up in this culture that views women like a piece of meat, that whatever she does determines how respectful we are to this person and how we value and protect this person based on how they act or something they can't control is done to them. I grew up in this. And when you can't tell the difference between consensual sex and something that is downright illegal, you have more than a problem. You're creating an environment that makes it much easier for predators to prey. If you don't see the difference between behavior the church calls porneia, or in English, fornication, you can't tell the difference. And this affects mandatory reporting. If you view every act, consensual or unconsensual, as equally a sin, you have a problem. Nowhere in church did I ever say or hear that anything consensual, married or pre-marriage, is okay, as long as everyone enthusiastically consents and everyone is respected. I never heard that. Because I was in denominations that believed when you got married, it was your duty to give up autonomy of your own body. Your body belonged to whomever you married. And the only reason you couldn't have intimacy is for periods of mourning, bodily issues that needed time to be resolved. Those were the only, or a third reason, your spouse consents to a brief time for spiritual growth. Anything beyond that was considered a breach of marriage expectations. And I grew up watching movies and reading Christian books and going to sermons that actually told women, if you don't do your role, your husband will cheat. Even though my therapist has drilled it into my head, nothing you do, nothing you wear, nothing you don't do can keep a man from disrespecting you, cheating on you, using you like a dish towel, disrespecting you in private or in public. Nothing you do can make another person be a decent human being. You can't fireproof your marriage. You can't keep a man or a woman from acting like scum. It's a choice. Nobody deserves to be cheated on. Nobody deserves to be treated like they're a placeholder, even though that's extremely common in these churches. Men are to love their wives. That is, I don't even think that meets the bare minimum of marriage behavior. If you have to be commanded to love your wife, why are you married? Can you imagine? The only thing men are commanded to do when they're married is to love their wives. While women have, I don't even know if I could write all the rules that women are expected to follow. Men have one rule. Love your wives. That isn't even bare minimum. There's nowhere in the Bible that says men are supposed to do half of the labor. They're supposed to not do weaponized incompetence. And this is the kind of setup for a toxic marriage or any kind of friendship dynamics. And any institution or religion that lumps in crimes with consensual, married or unmarried behavior, they are creating an environment that women and children, if you are not hurt, I'm surprised because of these environments. And I'm actually happy that some people are not hurt. Because these environments, when abuse doesn't happen, I'm shocked because of how unhealthy these dynamics are. Some of it's luck. Sometimes it's how long people have been in a religion. And the longer, if you were born into a religion, it's much harder to break out of it than halfway through your life becoming a Christian. I've been in this for 30 years. It's so misogynistic. Because when you can't tell the difference between consensual and pervy behavior, what's going to push you into reporting bad behavior? And not only can't you tell the difference, you're teaching the next generation not to be able to tell the difference. You're teaching women that having sex without being married is unnatural and wrong. Even though most animals on this planet are not married. They're not married. And just because you have a lifelong commitment doesn't make your intimacy any better, any more holy than somebody who picks someone up for one night. The only thing that makes sex right is if it's legal and enthusiastic consent is involved. It doesn't matter if you're married. It doesn't matter if you're in religion. It doesn't matter. As long as everyone can legally consent enthusiastically. I can't find fault with what you do. Now, some people will say, well, what if you're married and doing it with another person? That doesn't make it any less consensual. It may not be socially okay, and I never advocate for infidelity. But when you grow up in an institution that worships one kind of lifestyle, one kind of sexual relationship, one kind of intimacy, you're telling people who want something different, who are living a different kind of life, that their choices, desires, and lifestyle is wrong. And this is a problem. Life is hard enough without being told by religion that if you're not married, having kids, and being a doormat, you're not a good woman. Women deserve much better. Women should be told from the cradle, If you want to do something with someone your age that's consensual, enthusiastic, and legal, there's nothing wrong with that. Is it wise to do it when you're 14? I don't think so. But it's going to happen. And when religious leaders are weird about certain things and actually lump in crimes with normal behavior, which you're not married doing, there's so much shame involved in normal things. Imagine growing up in an environment where you're shamed for doing normal things like eating, drinking, bathing, working. That's how ludicrous it is when these environments and religions villainize people for having urges that are completely normal. And as I always say, as long as it's legal, consensual, and ethical, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care. And anyone who does care, get a life.